Hello angels, welcome back to another resin video. So we got a new mold from Etsy's. This is a 6-inch square mold that I got from Etsy's. It is gigantic, it is huge, it's very intimidating, but I dry a ton of white roses, so I was like, why not? Let's see how this will turn out. Spoiler alert, this was a complete fail. Absolute fail. 600% fail. Like, that's how bad it was, okay? Absolute mess. But this was the whole process. Obviously it took days, probably like a good 2 weeks and a half, because I gave up on it midway before I even continue. So I already mixed up my resin. You can see that giant bucket of some resin that I have in the corner right there. So what I did was I poured a little bit of some resin into the mold already. And these white roses that I dried myself, I'm just going to be putting them each into the resin so I can soak up the resin. I did this just so that they could avoid as much bubble as possible. And keep in mind, throughout this whole video, you're going to be seeing me spraying this mold, spraying every single layer with 99% ibuprofen alcohol just to get rid of any bubbles. So that's what in the bottle right there that I just sprayed into the mold. So I have my rose sitting in the resin, soaking up everything. You see the bubble rising. I'm pushing it back down into the resin to get more coverage. After that, I just place it into the mold, not directly into the center, but to the sides, because we're going to probably do like 2 or 3. We're just going to do it all the way around, like a big circle around the edges. So I'm doing the same thing. See the other flowers? This time I didn't let it sit in there as long because I realized that I was wasting time having the resin just sit around like that. But yeah. Just dipping the flowers into the rose, placing it into the mold, and keep in mind that since these flowers are preserved, they're very crumbly. They're easy to fall apart. So when you put them in the resin, there's a 99.99% that it could just fall apart into the resin. But after I place all of my flowers in there, into the mold, I sprayed it with some 99% ibuprofen alcohol. So this wasp fell into the apartment. So I was like, okay, let me just put it into this resin piece just to see how it looks. This is the second layer. Each layer I let it sit and let it cure for a full 24 hours. So after the first layer dried, this is the second layer that I just poured on in there. Again, I sprayed my mold with some 99% ibuprofen alcohol, let it sit for a while, let the bubbles rise up and pop on their own. If not, the alcohol will help pop the bubbles. And again, I have my bucket with some resin, and I'm putting my roses in there so it can soak up as much resin as possible. And I just let it sit in the resin for like a few minutes. Keep spraying the mold for the 6,000 bubbles that's going to be rising as soon as you turn your back, honestly. So now with this rose and the resin, I'm just pressing out on the center because I realized that there's a ton of bubbles that's rising up from in there. So I want the process to speed up. With preserved flowers and resin, you can't speed anything up. You have to wait until it's ready. It's already done its thing, but yeah. After I realized everything was good with my glove hand, I'm just taking out the flowers and then just putting it into the mold, dipping more flowers in there, putting it directly at the center, not the center, around the edges. And that looks good. So any pieces of flowers that left, I pick it up and put it into the mold because honestly, what else am I possibly going to be doing with it? It is going to be waste. So might as well just put it into the mold. So these little petals fell off from a rose. So dip it in some resin and put it directly into the mold. Sprayed it again. Keep watching over it. And then we're going to let this layer dry for a full 24 hours. You see how it's looking? It looks perfectly fine. But after 24 hours, everything in there is going to turn absolutely brown. You're going to see it in every single layer. An absolute mess. Do you know how long this took? So upset. So it's in the morning. You can see all of the flowers are now absolutely brown. There's some bubbles that still rose up. So I put a little bit of some resin into the mold. And this bubble that rise, I'm trying to fill it up with some resin so that it would disappear. But I was like, you know what, forget it. The amount of bubbles that's in here, I can't save this. So I basically gave up mid-project. Absolute mess. I'm trying to get rid of any bubbles in there as I possibly can. I'm going to spray it again with some 99% ibuprofen alcohol. Just spray, spray, spray. Just fill it up. I'm going to say just fill it up. So in the corner, well, this one this rose I did not dip in any resin. I just placed it in there just to see how that will turn out, if it make any difference. But one rose I decided to place into the resin, and it completely crumbled up. I wasn't even touching it that hard. I just pushed it down into the resin, and it just fell apart. So I just scoop it up with my silicone spoon, and then just put everything into the resin with my other resin in there. And then we're gonna let this layer sit and cure for a full, long, and beautiful 24 hours. Oh, also we're gonna spray this again just to get rid of any bubbles. Spray, spray, spray. You can already see some bubbles that is rising. This layer wasn't that bad. There wasn't a ton of bubbles. I think there was like only one or two. That was it. Excuse me. Spray, spray, spray. I was gonna put this pine cone in there, but it couldn't fit. So that's for next project. So after a few days of this just sitting around, I was trying to figure out like what else to do with it because I ran out of flowers. So I decided to put some LED lights, some blue LED lights that I got from Amazon down in there. So that's what I'm doing right here. Doing it with one hand. Why? Because I'm a professional. So it looks good. Turning on the light to see how it's going to be working. I like it, which is perfect. Just making sure I lay down there flat. So I mix up some resin and I put a little bit of some alcohol ink into the resin and just mix it up a little bit. And now I'm just pouring it into the mold. We're going to let this sit and cure for a full 24 hours. And we're still going to spray this with some 99% ibuprofen alcohol. So this is the next day. I mixed up more resin, put a little bit of some alcohol ink in there, mixing everything up. Make sure you mix it up nice and good. I definitely think I used two different types of blue, but that's fine. Now I'm just pouring it down into the mold, filling it up all the way. You can see that at the corner right there, there's a bubble that's keep on rising. That's fine. So I got some, what do you call this? Ocean White from Let's Resin. So I'm just putting that in there. It's looking good. Letting it sit for a few. So you see that there's still a bubble that's rising in the corner. I sprayed it. I didn't spray it. This layer, I went over it with my lighter instead of spraying it with some 99% ibuprofen alcohol. Still going over it with some Ocean White, stirring on the lights to make sure that everything is good. The resin that is left over, I'm going to use it for a different project. I'm just going over it with my lighter to get rid of any bubbles. Now with my little stick, I'm going to swirl everything together, mixing everything up in a little swirly effect. We're going to let this sit and cure for a full 24 beautiful hours. Okay, back again for part 2. I put a little bit of some soap, some water in there. Now this bad boy can just pop out directly out the mold. Probably smart. I'm so confused. Just let it work its way down through there. You can see the soap and water at the side. Work its way all the way down. Alright. I have no plastic. My hand is so soapy. Oops. Shake. Alright. Finally got it out. I put a little piece. You know what that is? A little bug in there. This is the mold. Okay. This is the mold. So it's looking. Let's just put that to the side. Let's just look at her. This is 100% not perfect. Maybe like 187% not perfect. A ton of air bubbles. Flowers inside absolutely brown. If they're not brown, they're completely crumbled up. A little bit of the wire sticking out at the sides. But the, what do you call this? I'm out of breath. Alcohol ink effect looks so cool. You can see all of the little layers that I add on in there. I cut my thumb because one of these rough edges. Let me wipe off this because it's still very soapy. Alright, that's better. You guys are close up, you can see all the little bubbles. The bottom looks good except for this bubble that rise and pop. And you can see a giant air bubble right here. Oh, my legs, my thighs. The light works. Let's look at it. Definitely gonna have to use the mold again now that I know how it works. And I have some different flowers that I could 100%. Oh, I cut myself 2 different places. Oh no, blood is on here. Wow, this is very messy. I have to put a band-aid. It's not that bad, but I've seen better. I know it's gonna take me like a few seconds to get a hold of this, but yeah, it could work out. I know you guys saw me struggling to get this out of the mold. This is so heavy in the mold and everything. But just put a little soap and water in there and it will work its way out. You can see it's a lot of bubbles in there. But from afar, she's a Monet. She's a Monet from afar. Far, far away. This is how it looks with the LED lights on. It's not that bad, but you know, I can do better. I have some other flowers, so I'm definitely going to try this project again. This is how it looks in the dark, and that's pretty much it. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye bye.